So I think that's a great jumping off point, Brandon. For those we should have hit record, 5 minutes ago. And really how you had started the conversation when we jumped on was, it is a grind. It is an absolute meat grinder of a market. And you guys, on record, the worst real estate market in 20 years, 30 years, maybe
ever.
At
least 2 decades, at least.
And, we were kind of chatting about, obviously here in the States, we had to go through, 07, 08, 09. That was like, our meat grinder where it almost felt like it shifted overnight. And just with all the lending, I remember, Kinder got caught holding lots of bags, had to flip them into, think properties, flips, rehabs we were trying to sell. He had to grab them, move them into, to hold on to them because we couldn't move them. And so being able to salvage that market, I think the beautiful thing for us, that experience of being able to go through that, is that what it taught us was that in any market conditions, there's always an opportunity. And, Kinder became one of the best on the planet at short sales. I gravitated to Willard, and it was just all things new construction. And so those two things carried us through, that tough stretch of the market until, we kind of got back into kind of what was, if you want to say, a normal, more balanced out market, 6, 7, 8 months of inventory, but things were starting to move. And, no different than you, 13, 14 years in the game, kind of when you got in, all the things that you had to go through and how things are coming full circle. And I think it'd be really good, kind of what you mentioned of, I'm back seeing, I'm a little bit later in the office. I'm a little bit later, more time doing the things. And I think the way you kind of broke that down and kind of where your focus and your energy is, I think that's just a good jumping off point for us to talk about the activities required to handle any market. But I think if you can kind of unpack that a little bit, will be really powerful.
Yeah. So what I was saying is one of the things I said anyways, that I'm finding myself, first of all, right now I'm trying to lead by example as much as lead myself. Right. So really doing the activities that I need to be doing, but also then trying to, obviously, that to rub off onto people within our office, people within our team, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's really important. So I'm trying to be in the office every single day, at least 5 days a week. But I am finding myself here in the evening, similar to when I was early in my career, which would have been like the 2015, 16, 17s, when I started to propel kind of that career a little bit. But I did whatever it took. And those were the days that I'd just be up at the office at what was it? Was it 7:49 or 8:49 every single morning for our daily huddle? But then just there in the evenings, just making sure that I'm doing my bookends every single day, planning out my day. What does that look like? Who do I need to speak to tomorrow? Really just getting that mental state prepared for another big day again and again and again and again. And yeah, I was here till 9:30 again last night. And I think that I'd mentioned right when we jumped on, like the people that get through this on the other side are going to be rewarded at a very high level, because someday that tap's going to turn on again. It's going to. I don't know if it's going to be, it's not going to be this year. I don't know when that tap's going to be, but it's going to. And the people that are putting in the work now, and it does take 2 to 3 times extra work in a lot of cases. Some might disagree with me on this, but to make similar incomes to what we made in the 2020 and 2021 years, like those are very simple years. And it does seem like a long time ago, but at the same time, it wasn't. Like, I still feel on average within the industry that people still have those defaults in their business in terms of like what's required, what does it take to make the income they want to make and hit the goals that they have set. Mm-hmm. I do believe that. And I see it everywhere. And so when I say, trying to lead by example, I'm trying to be out there and do what I need to do to hit my goals, but also too, so that will brush off and people will be like, you know what, I should probably be doing that too, because that's what I look for. I look for people that are leading the way. That's why it's great to have this office dynamic as well too, because you walk through here on any given day and there's people putting in the work. And it does kind of help with that mental state of like, I need to be doing this, this, and this, and maybe I shouldn't go play 18 holes this afternoon, so all those things that it does for that.
Yeah. But, and it's also easy, to get into that on, constant grind on mode. Like you said, it's 9:00, next thing you know, it's 10:30, it's 11:00. Right. And so those things, those bookends of our day keep expanding out, and, those are red flags firing up, right? Our day starting earlier and our days ending later. And so I think it's a couple things that that you said in there that I want to unpack. One is the importance of environment, but two, you touched on when the market's easy, the habits that get formed, and those carry over, because the habits that when it's not easy, the discipline and consistency required for those is a little bit of a challenge, right? Once it got pretty easy, it's hard to correct those habits.
It definitely is. Yeah.
What are the habits right now in this meat grinder of a market, getting back to like the basics, the fundamentals, right? The blocking and the tackling. What are the fundamental habits right now that are required?
Good question. So like myself and a lot of people, you try and overcomplicate things in most cases in every aspect of your life, not even just real estate. But the reality of it is, and the same thing still applies to today as it did 13 years ago when I got in the business, and probably will apply to 13 years into the future, probably. But it's really just about, real estate's a contact sport. It's really about, of course, personal brand and social media. All those things are incredibly important, right? They establish you as an expert, depending on what you're doing from a marketing perspective. It shows that you have a business. It's your platform to voice your expertise, your advice, your opinions, all that stuff. But the reality of it is, like I said, real estate's a contact sport, and we need to be in contact with more people. And so more people, or the same people more frequently, would be another way to put it as well too. I truly believe that, depending on what your goals are, of course, you don't need thousands of people in your own personal database to make a really good living in real estate. 200-300 good, confident, loyal contacts in your database. If you treat them well, you work them well, you give them good experience, you stay top of mind, you provide value, I think you can make an incredible business in real estate from that. So it's really just, who are you speaking to on a weekly basis? What does that number look like? Are you going above and beyond the expectation of a traditional real estate agent, right? Like when you're getting a referral from somebody in that database, what are you doing for that referral? Are you saying thank you, moving on? Or are you sending them something and treating them really, really well and showing them that you really, really, really appreciate that you just provided a piece of business to you, that they just provided a piece of business to you? So like, what are you doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to connect with your database? And then if you're looking to grow your business, then what does that lead generation platform look like? How are you connecting with more people? Are you good at door knocking, right? We have Dave on our team that's really good at door knocking. Are you good at online lead conversion? We have Andrew on our team that's really good at converting online leads, or Greg, right? So like, what are you doing in those columns to grow your business and to make sure you're staying top of mind? And then tracking the appointments that you go on, your conversion rate, right? And then your sell-through rate. Like you just need to track your metrics, because you need to know how many people you need to speak to. Because I know for a fact right now, the homes that I'm listing, I'm not selling 90 or 100% of them like I was in 2017 through to 2022.
Yeah.
Like our sell-through rate right now in our market is 47%. Mm-hmm. Right. So almost 1 in 2 homes aren't selling.
Well, I mean, you have a greater probability of not selling than selling. So that's 53. Another way to say it, 53% of homes are not selling.
Correct.
So yeah, it's super important to pay attention to. And I love paying attention to that metric, because a lot of people, because it can tell a lot of the story. And even in great markets, right? You were talking, 90, sometimes 100%, just depending upon, kind of the market in the season. But even for us in Dallas, right, in a really, not like a smoking hot market, but a really good market, I mean, we were only 83%. So like even in really, really good markets, not all homes sell. So you need to be able to pay attention to that. But to your point there, one thing that you said just a second ago, and I think it's thinking about kind of that warm traffic, the people that already kind of know you and you at least know of you, and maybe you've had an interaction or with them, kind of warm traffic, and then kind of a cold traffic play. But I loved what you said in there about what are you doing to maintain and stay top of mind relevance with those people? Like, what are some of the best practices? We've always had the kind of the belief and the mantra that if you want a more business, more market share, that you got to focus on mind share first. Mm-hmm. And I know that's one of the things that we're seeing, especially what you're seeing up in your market, is that the divide between those that know what they're doing and those that don't is expanding almost by the day. It's getting wider and wider.
Yeah.
So kind of talk about some of the things, like you were saying, that lend to that warm relationship business and staying top of mind. That's really important.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up too. So the gap in market share that I'm seeing right now is growing and growing and growing with the top agents that are providing incredible value and getting results. It used to be 80-20, 80% of the agents did 20, or vice versa, did 20% of the agents did 80% of the business. Then it went to 90-10. I honestly think it's even growing beyond that. And it's just, I'm seeing top producers and mega teams just take enormous market share right now too. There's so many people in our group that have proven that, Jen, Scotty, Jerry, the Renewed team, Mike, and, the Sadler group, Andrew, Abe, like these people are taking enormous market share right now. That's just in our, a few people in our group. There's so many more, just to name a few. But that, I think some of the things to kind of answer your question, to stay top of mind, one of the things we were prepping this morning before this call is our next big event. So we talked about events and how well they work. In-person events, we were talking about real estate events, but client events. And so one of the things we do within our brand and our brokerage, the Real Estate Collective, we try and do, I think, an event at least one a quarter. We're probably doing one every 2 months right now. We're planning our big end of summer event here at our office. So it's going to be a blowout. And this is, the rule of reciprocity as well too. So we're inviting our database to 4, 5, 6 really good events all year round. That keeps us top of mind. Even if you don't want to stay, you want us to stay top of mind. Like, we're in there, we're inviting you to our movie night. We're inviting you to our summer event. We're inviting you to our winter skates, whatever that event's going to look like. We're providing that real-time value to our clients. So that's probably, in my opinion, the best way that we're staying top of mind. Of course, we have the other things that are important, like our weekly and monthly email database with value, how's the market updates, all that kind of stuff too. Those are things in the way that I'm personally staying top of mind with my sphere of influence, my book of business. That works really, really well for me. Everybody's a little bit different. Again, everybody has different skill sets, but that seems to work really well. I think events are the number one thing that you can do for both real estate agents and your clients.
I would agree, because it's something of value, especially if you have an intent in kind of a theme and an objective for the event, right? So be intentional. What's the objective? What's the value? Yeah. But what I love is that it's not cringy, and you got something of real value when you reach out to invite them to. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people that kind of struggle with not having the right belief system, that it's the man in the desert, right, concept that we got from Jay Abraham. And we know our bodies need X ounces of water every day, right, to be able to survive. So if you come to me and you're thirsty and you need a glass of water, I have a responsibility to make sure that you get all the water that you need, right? Like, you're thirsty, man. Like, where else are you going to get water? My job is to make sure that you have all of the water your body needs. So instead of just giving you a 16 ounce, man, I got to make sure you get your, 100, 120 ounces of water. So that's my job, to be able to provide that for you. But a lot of people struggle with just being able to reach out and have those conversations. And I find it easier when you have an event that you believe in, that like you'll call anybody and invite them to the event when you feel good about the event. So I think sometimes it's easier to help kind of get over that mental hurdle that we stand in the way of ourselves, of being able to have a conversation with another human. So it just makes it easier, kind of gets momentum, helps you kind of get the marbles out of your mouth. Yeah. So I couldn't agree with you more, man. I love, and I'll never forget Vincent Koo, Mr. Koo, York City. The last time I had him on here on Expert Mentors, I think he said the number one thing that just has resonated with me as it comes to agent attraction, but I feel it applies to what we're talking about here. He said there's only thing that you have to get really good at. You have to become world-class at inviting. And that's the same thing, you know, running a first-time home buyer, running a seller seminar, right? Just get good at inviting them to the thing. And, you know, it's not that it's great if they show up, but even with our clients, it's the invite, right? Like I feel like he's reaching out to me. And so like, it's just the feeling that how you can make them feel by the invite to something.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. The invite's just as important as them showing up. We just talked about that this morning. Exactly. One of the things that Greg said on our call is, again, we're planning at this big event that we're hosting here at the office. The law of reciprocity. So, and again, too, yeah, I'll add to that. It's, if you do have momentum in communicating with your database, don't let it go. Because it is very challenging to get it back. It takes a lot of effort, and it might seem like a lot of effort to maintain it if you have momentum, but it's a way easier thing to do when you to maintain it than try and get it back. Yeah. And so I've lost momentum before in my business, right? It goes up, it goes down, and I can speak from experience that maintain it, keep it, don't lose that momentum.
Yeah, I mean, we always kind of joke. It's once you have it and if and when you do lose it, it's like 10 times harder to get it back than what it was to maintain it. So I always kind of run with that philosophy of it's easier to stay in shape than to get in shape. So just maintain it, because I promise you, if you let that wheel slow down or almost come to a standstill, it's so hard to get it back going again.
Yeah.
So we talked about contact sport and you talked about frequency. I want to touch on this a little bit and kind of get your thoughts. What do you think the frequency in today's market? So distractive. Everybody's got, you know, a snacking culture, bite-sized attention. We know impressions, it used to be, you know, in the teens. It's in the 20s. It's probably even higher than that now. Number of impressions or number of touches that is kind of required. Cardone has, you know, 13 to 14 times before, you know, the transaction or the sale is even made. But when you start to think about frequency, right? Contact sport frequency, what's the right amount of frequency that you need to be thinking about in this space and time that we're in?
Is this with like a potential buyer or seller? Or
I think so. Just pretty much as anybody, as humans, right? As we're trying to get in front of them and get our offer in front of them, how many touches, how much the frequency, what's enough?
Yeah. Well, it's certainly not 2 or 3. and that's where, you know, the majority of agents give up on that particular prospect. I should know that answer, and to be honest, I don't know exactly what it would be. But what I would say is I look at it from like, how would I respond to somebody who's trying to get in touch with me? And sometimes I do it on purpose. I'll register for something. I know I'm not ready to buy yet, but I think one day that I might be. If that makes sense. Whether it's for, you know, online lead gen or a website or whatever that's going to look like, whatever it is. We'll call it a website as an example. So I bet you, and I'm still in consideration, but I'm not ready to buy yet. And they've probably followed up with me 15 times. and I might pick up the 16th. I might be ready soon. I'm just not ready yet. And so like, I think you have to really put yourself in those shoes and think about what would you truly want if you're an actual potential buyer, right? And so, yeah, your frequency is probably at least, 15 plus times, but also too, how I think the importance of how you're following up is something to talk about as well too. Meaning, it used to just be all phone calls, and it's like meet somebody where they're at. I'd prefer text in a lot of cases. So, making sure you're using texting and text video messaging as well too. Get to know somebody. So it's really about how you're following up and how often you're following up. So they're kind of both tied and paired in together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What's kind of your process, your style? What are you shooting for personally? How many, touches? How are you managing the touches? For you, how does that process look?
Yeah. So just CRM. So we use Follow Up Boss. So that's all in there. I've actually created a few videos for buyers and for sellers. I actually just did this a few weeks ago. So I'm integrating that into my follow-up system, but it's like, as an example, I have for a buyer and a seller, I have almost like a welcome. Hey, this is a generic video, but I just want to show to you that I have a process within my system. And so I wanted you to get this and to know that you are dealing with professionals. So that's kind of actually the census of the video. And it's actually been working pretty well. I've been getting replies from it. So I'm setting that out right away. So I'm adding these little video drips into my process, and I'm just experimenting with it, but it seems to be working. So that's something that I'm just implementing now.
Yeah, I think when you look at kind of like the core process, what we're talking about is the conversion process, right? There's only really big four processes. And the first one's attraction, right? How do you attract folks to your business? And then what's the conversion, right? And then once we have the conversion, basically it's, getting results, right? How do you deliver the results, consistent results? What's your fulfillment type of system? And then the last one is, what's your referral system? And that's what you're talking about when you got a really great book of business that you're, really engaging, communicating. It's a very active, engaged audience. Then, yeah, what are you doing to pull and maximize more referrals? Because you think about we typically there's three things that we want. We want more revenue, we want more profit, or we want more freedom. And so for especially a lot of agents, they want more revenue. They say they want more profit, but really their expenses are so low that they got to drive revenue. And if they drive revenue, hold their expenses, then the profit's going to be there. But then some agents, right, they go through a period of time. Like I promise you that if you keep, staying at the office till 9, 10 o'clock at night, and you do that for 3-6 months, you're going to want more freedom. You're going to be like, enough is enough. I need some more freedom. Like I can't redline anymore. So yep. It's just really being clear. But the one thing that we're right here is frequency and not enough touches. And this is where I think the bad habits, because you didn't have to have so many touches in 21, 22, when the market was kind of at a tailwind and it was a little bit easier, versus a headwind now. Like you got to focus on those touches. And I'm really curious as you start to think about this and kind of your style, but how much of it, like you said, are you using video? How much are you using phone? How much are you just using SMS? How much are you using email? And how much are you letting AI do some of this conversion process for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So AI is getting pretty good. So it's almost like you monitor what's being said and you jump in when sometimes I even feel the timing's right. And sometimes it isn't right. They're doing such a great job, to be honest with you, which is great, right? It's a blessing and a curse all in one. So you have to be careful how you use AI in your conversion process. But that's a good question. Yeah, I would say it's kind of a blend of all of them, pretty even blend, to be honest. I kind of let AI at the beginning. I also utilize them with older or dead leads to see if you can kind of like, revitalize them a little bit too. I'd use AI for that. But yeah, I'm using a good combination of texting, email, calls, video messages, and just to kind of see, again, too, you're trying to find out how they want to respond and how they want to be spoken to. So sometimes I just ask, like, hey, what's the best way to connect with you? Do you like to speak over the phone? Do you like to text? Would you prefer I send a video? You just ask them, because you actually get a good response from that alone. They'll be like, you know what? I'd actually prefer this. Now you know, which is great. It's the same thing when you're doing a seller counsel interview over the phone, where you're going to meet with the seller to sell their home. You ask them, I ask them anyways, every single time, hey, what's your preferred method of communication? And they tell you, and then it's like, great, now you know, because everybody's different. Same thing, same concept.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, that was, we waited until we would usually capture that once we knew that we were going to secure them as a client, meaning they sign a buyer rep agreement or we sign a listing agreement. That's where that question would come out. And sometimes for us as agents in the field, sometimes we wouldn't ask it, but our coordinators, who was ever helping us manage the transaction on the back end, the back of the house, that was always their number one question to get, right? Because if they're coordinating, we need things, they need to know the best, avenue of how the channel that they want to communicate within. So I couldn't agree with you more, man. You got to know their preferred method of communication, and you need to let everybody that's going to ever touch or see that client know, like, listen, they only respond through text. Don't call them. Don't send them an email. Just text everything. So I think it's super important. You're so spot on with that. So B, when you kind of look at this, increasing the number of frequencies, pushing people to live events, pushing them, things like that. And remember, guys, listen, everything we're talking about is really moving and getting the habits established for a meat grinder of a market, which is what we're in. Mm-hmm. And the overarching thing that really drives all of our results comes from environment and circumstance. And you touched on the office. I know firsthand how amazing your office is, but even more so how amazing the people in your office are. Mm-hmm. Kind of touch on kind of with your experience now back into the office full time versus kind of being spread out, kind of virtual here and there. The importance of establishing an environment right now when you're going through tough, challenging, hard times, how important it is to have a positive, optimistic, accountable, driving office environment that you're a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always important, to be honest. Again, I don't necessarily think that you need to have an office, but I think that you have to have a sense of community, because I truly believe that proximity is power, whether that's, an online community or an in-person community. I do think an in-person community has a little bit more of an impact, a positive impact on you, because you can just, even if you're sitting here and you're here for an hour and you're putting in the work and then you're running, you say 10 or 12 things back and forth to somebody in your office, but like there's that one little nugget. Well, you might not have got that in an online platform. You just might not have. So I think that it's more important than ever. And I look around this office, and the people that are here every single day are the ones that are absolutely doing the best in almost 99% of the cases. So they're here, and not every day is like that big, holy crap, I smoked today, but did you pick a target for that day? Did you check off the to-dos for that day? Did you get it done? And then maybe did you go the little bit extra? But also too, I'm a firm believer, like when I'm in here and I'm putting in the work, all of a sudden I open my email and I've got that, hey, Brandon, it's Jim. You don't know me, but I got referred to you by Kim. Yep. And I'd like you to come and list my home. Like those good, lucky things start happening too. Like you get manifested through the hard work that you're putting in. So again, too, I think that was kind of like a workaround answer, but yeah, I think it's really important to have a community that you can rely on.
when things are hard, right? And the tendency is to isolate, and it's counterintuitive. You have to move together, and you got to move around people that are going to push you, inspire you, right? It's like a thing. It's like, I mean, you're not going to show up as a slob into the office every day, right? Like, not showing up as your best, because you look across the hall, Jerry's going to show up as his best, right?
Jerry's right there.
Yeah. Scotty's going to show up as his best. Mike is going to show up as his best. So it's like, are you going to be the one that walks into this environment that's not showing up as his best? Right. So it's that peer-to-peer accountability that's pushing you to be better, that we all need, right? Because essentially what we're saying is we need accountability, but we need it in an environment that puts a positive accountability, with a heavy dose of inspiration, I think is really, really important in the environments right now.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. As we think about, continuing to navigate, the terrain ahead, which I don't see it changing anytime soon, at all. What are like locked in, like at the forefront of your mind, make sure that, these things are on your radar, that you're executing or your team's executing, but these are the non-negotiables to be able to navigate moving forward?
For me, it's the events. Those are non-negotiables. We have a really good thing going at those. Those are running like clockwork now. That gives me the opportunity, like I said, to connect with my database, and in a lot of cases too, it's reconnect. So I'm working hard right now to continue to build and also rebuild some relationships that I once had within my sphere of influence in my book of business. For me right now, like it's the non-negotiables are here 5 days a week, right? Like just get in here, be present, even if it's for a couple hours, usually in the morning, get my work done. And then for me, it's also, what's my marketing message right now? What do I want to do? How do I want to generate? Because I am trying to generate some new business on top of continue to maintain and massage my current business. What type of marketing message? What am I going to be doing for marketing? Like that type of stuff is top of mind for me right now within content. So I meet with my media team once a month right now to create content. That's every single month. Usually 6 to 10 videos personally from that meeting times 12. So making sure I'm getting a lot of content out there with intent. Man. And just making sure I'm doing, all the daily tasks I need to do to be successful in this business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think too, remembering what business you're in, right? Like for you, you're in the B-Town business, right? You're in the Brandon Town business. I'm in the John Kitchens business. Jerry's in the Jerry business. And so if you're not going to be your biggest cheerleader and your biggest promoter, who is? And so what you said, the importance of the content, meeting with the media team, like the number one meeting for us as head of our companies. And listen, if you're a real estate agent, you are head of your company. And you're like, well, I'm on a team. Yeah, I'm like, are you a contractor? Are you a 1099 contracting, or are you a W-2 employee? Are you on payroll? Right? No, I'm a contractor. I'm an agent. Exactly. So you have your own business, even though you're a part of a team, and you're just exchanging commission dollars as an investment for services provided for you from the team.
Right.
But it's still your business. So the number one meeting as head of company is your marketing meeting. You never miss marketing. And why? Because the best real estate agent never wins. It's, you look at the podium, 1, 2, and 3 position is always taken by the best marketers.
Big time.
And that's why the non-negotiable, and I would say, listening to this, and we talked about frequency, you're probably not focused enough on marketing. You're not thinking about marketing enough. Essentially, you have to become a marketer that just happens to sell real estate. And right. I know you've embraced that line of thinking. And so it's even just, okay, are we touching base enough on the marketing? Are we connecting enough? But I think that's like the most non-negotiable critical meeting that you've got to have is that marketing meeting.
Right on.
Yeah. Good stuff. B, I appreciate you jumping in here, adding value and really embodying what the whole Expert Mentors series has been about. Episode 326, which is just wild to even say out loud. But brother, I appreciate you always jumping in, always adding a ton of value. How can folks get connected back with you? What's the best way to get connected?
Yeah. Check out my Instagram. I'm very active on there. Be Realtor, very original. Or you can hit me up on my cell, 519-242-0171. Call me, text me, whatever you want. Happy to help. I've been in this business a long time. A lot of people have helped me. I love to help back when and if I can. But always staying a student. So yeah, appreciate you, John. Thanks for having me on. You've been such a big part of my business from day one, essentially. So I really am grateful for everything you've done for me.
Appreciate you, brother. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you. Guys, give B some love, get connected with them, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks. See you guys.